Hello, gentlemen, and welcome to another Pallavi Market Research video. Today, we're going to be discussing my macroeconomic outlook, looking out into 2025 and beyond. I've spoken about my overall theses, and my track record is um, the best one. Is it the best one? Well, I'm not really monetizing my track record as well as I probably could be, which is limiting the ability for my reputation to grow. However, we are doing this the long way, the hard way, the correct way, and that is why this community is destined for genuine greatness. We are destined to reach a higher consciousness together. We are destined to become masters of the universe. But in order to become masters of the universe, we first need to get rich, get really, really rich in a way that is seemingly effortless. One of the things that you may have learned about me already, that I have certainly become more self aware about myself, is that if I can't do something and I can't make it look effortless, I'm probably just not going to do it. So this is part of the life journey we are on together. Because if you're part of the Palaview community, you are part of just a leadership who only cares about doing things effortlessly. Now let's get into the meat of this video, because really what we're talking about here is something actually fucking dead serious. You wouldn't believe, like, I had a phone call yesterday with one of the premier capital raising organizations in the planet. They help the Bank of England and the Vatican source where they're investing into hedge funds and private equity funds. So I had a call with this individual yesterday, and I asked him, "Sir, where are you most excited? What narratives are you seeing in the marketplace of funds and new emerging fund managers that is exciting to you?" And I got a great answer to that question. It was actually in sync with a lot of things that was exciting to me. So I now feel extra affirmed that this thinking that I'm about to describe to you is very high quality, if not the most high quality. And no, that's not a hyperbolic statement. Like when Nietzsche said something. He said, I can write in a sentence what it takes another man a book to write. What's cool about that sentence is it's true, right? He wasn't actually speaking egotistically. He was just saying the truth. So, like many videos that I feel that I do, this is one of them. This video could be the only video you ever need to watch on the next how to invest over the next 20 years. Because this isn't a thesis that I'm offering you on how to capitalize over really just like January 2025. Maybe I should have retitled this. Okay. I'm offering you a 2025 to 2045, maybe even 2055 macroeconomic outlook that I believe very strongly will serve you well over that entire time horizon. Now, I'm not going to be giving you specific things to invest in, because many of these companies we've actually already written about, done research on, written 25-page research reports on for our premium newsletter subscribers, okay? So I'm not going to be giving you specific equities to be looking after, but I will be giving you very strong direction, and it shouldn't be too hard for you to figure out where to look, okay? Let's get into it. So we have to ask ourselves a core question. And for me, if I'm thinking in first principles as to who is guaranteed cash flow, okay, who is the buyer and seller of last resort? Who, if we think in first principles, is the person that everyone is dependent on? So the core question that I have concluded on is, who will most efficiently deliver electricity to its capital investments? To me, this really captures a lot. One, it's not about who can deliver the cheapest electricity possible. It's who can deliver the most effective and efficient forms of electricity to its intellectual property, to its capital investments. Okay. What do capital investments include? Well, a capital investment example could be any of the following. Any of these technology trends that you feel could grow the economy, create jobs, right? So here are just a few examples. An example of a capital investment could be a venture funded AI company like OpenAI. So this is a good example of intellectual property that has a geographic tie associated with it, right? So venture funded AI companies in America will be a lot more valuable, seemingly so, than the ones that are currently being built in China. China has much cheaper electricity to power their AI models, but if their models and their software teams and all these things aren't sophisticated enough, that cheap electricity doesn't really matter and isn't as useful as it may seem on paper, right? Next one, electricity transmission and production. So these are literally the businesses that are producing and transmitting electricity and maintaining that infrastructure, that grid. Okay. So I wouldn't even overthink necessarily like the nuclear plays, all these different, plays like that, which we have talked about, which I do think that there's still massive opportunity in. But like we discussed earlier, it's probably not going to be like to benefit from a small modular reactor nuclear trend. You're probably not actually going to be investing in any individual reactor company. You're going to be wanting to invest in the materials companies that are creating the hulls, the systems that contain the fission for these liquid fluoride, these liquid fluoride thorium reactors, these reactors that use molten salts that have a high corrosion. So the materials that contain that fission, and the companies that are positioned to manufacture those components are the ones who will be winning in that specific domain. So that's a long way for me to say that the guys who are transmitting electricity and producing it already are the ones who are only going to make more money, right? Because nuclear and all these things are either going to empower their systems more, so and their existing production isn't going to go anywhere. If anything, it's going to get higher margin with time. It's going to become more profitable for them to run these systems that are generating power with time. Now, again, data centers, GPUs, NVIDIA, infrastructure. Again, this is all infrastructure. And then to a lesser degree, over a longer time horizon, we have venture-funded robotics companies, which is another example of intellectual property that is tied to a geographic location. These factories, right, are going to be located somewhere, and this is probably an area where China will be able to thrive better than maybe even the United States can, because where the cheap electricity, where maybe intellectual property isn't as important, I don't know. Who's to say? So these are just a bunch of examples as to what patterns you want to be looking for. What businesses are being invested in and are in a position to, I guess, benefit. Because if you're not, what I'm trying to say is, if you do not have a great grid and a reliable, cheap way to produce electricity for your nation, you can't participate in the next generation of AI or robotics. It's simple or automated cars, right? Excuse me, self-driving cars, right? All these things are so insanely demanding on your grid that if you're not positioned to be able to do that, you don't get to play the game. Okay? And the countries that do get to play the game are the groups that have the infrastructure set up to plug in these systems, right? So that all makes sense, right? Who will most efficiently deliver electricity to its capital investments? Now, this is the important part. Who is positioned to benefit? Where and what? What types of companies are going to benefit? Where in the world are these, is there out? Because it should go without saying that the United States in these major markets, there are some major markets like the United States, I should say, that are clearly going to win in this world, right? That are clearly going to benefit and, are going to disproportionately win on this question, right? But that's not actually the interesting question. The second question, the next question would be, where is the market not pricing in this growth? Because the issue with American equities, with American businesses that are participating in these domains, they are already priced. The market's already pricing in a lot of their future growth. They're trading at higher multiples than other companies abroad. So where abroad should we be looking? So I want to point you to three different regions of the world. Okay. The first is Scandinavia, namely countries like Norway and Sweden. Norway and Sweden have so much like just the amount of capital investments they're making, the engineering firms that they host, the oil that they have. These two places are so abundant and so competent in terms of their governance that they are positioned to really, really succeed. I actually also visited Finland last year. I would throw Finland in there as well, and even Poland to a massive degree. I think like I say this all the time, the American dream may or may not be real in America, but it's definitely real in Poland. And yeah, I feel very strongly about this region. There are a lot of amazing companies in Sweden that we've done reports on that I continue to be amazed by. Now, similarly, we have done a lot of reports on Saudi Arabian businesses, and Saudi Arabia is obviously who has cheaper energy than Saudi Arabia, who is making better investments into intellectual property and capital than Saudi Arabia. I don't know, because the thing is, guys, all like your venture, all those famous venture companies, venture firms that you're all tracking and stuff, Saudi Arabia has a piece in all those, bro. They are exposed to American markets. They have cheap electricity. There is no way that Saudi Arabia and its most basic services don't just continue to grow. They're too smart. They're too competent. They're investing too well. They make so much cash per day because of their because of the Saudi Aramco and stuff that this is just in that undeniable category, right? But again, American investors and investors abroad aren't trading Saudi Arabian banks, Saudi Arabian, even like rubber factories, a bunch of random different businesses here. They're not pricing these things at multiples like at this as the same as even like UK based businesses, right? French based businesses, even though the underlying characteristics of Saudi Arabia as a market to invest in are wildly better than those. So Saudi Arabia, Sweden, Norway, Finland to a lesser degree, Poland for sure, but Poland's still not nearly as sophisticated in terms of their public markets and their publicly traded companies that there's really nothing to point you to over there. The other thing too is Central Asia, specifically Uzbekistan. Uzbekistan is one of the fastest growing economies in the world in terms of GDP. And its neighboring regions have also done like all these other little, these colored countries are doing well as well. It's just, but I would say that out of all three of these markets that we're showing here, this is by far the most difficult to participate in, mostly because so much of their um, most valuable assets are still state owned. Their banking is a lot of it still kind of shady and weird. But I will say that there are some big Georgian banks that are investing over here. And those banks are actually, there's a Georgian bank that's investing a lot in Helsinki, Tallinn, this region here, and in Uzbekistan, and I believe Turkmenistan to a lesser degree. That these banks, the two largest banks in Georgia, I would actually also just not encourage you to invest in at all because I think that the markets might be actually having picked up on what I just described. But I definitely would say those are very, very interesting things to just learn about and track. Okay. So, what equities, what investment opportunities in these markets are really interesting, right? Where should you be looking? And let me put it to you this way. You want to look for yield generating, so like dividend paying effectively, equities, stocks, in infrastructure, and financial institutions that offer an exceptional risk return profile. Now, I would basically tell you that a lot of these infrastructure companies, literally the companies that own electricity transmission lines, electricity production, or maybe the engineering firms that are most dependent on in these regions for keeping these grids up. Because the thing is with these engineering firms, some of these engineering firms, guys, they pay a healthy dividend. They also are over 100 years old, so they have this immaculate reputation. And then, but even more importantly, for sure, even safer, I should say, from a risk return profile, are just the banks. The banks in these markets that are benefiting from all the oil production, from all the investments in AI, like especially the Saudi Arabian banks. I think Saudi Arabian banks, these dividend paying banks over here, are so mispriced, it's freaking insane. I'll just tell you guys that straight up right now. Also, there are some really big Finnish banks in Finland that are really trading low because of the war right now, but they're still extremely profitable. I saw one the other day. It's like a giant bank, but it's trading so low that it's able to pay a 10% dividend yield right now. But again, there's perceived risk into the integrity of the country of Finland because of the war in Ukraine. So a little bit of alpha there for you as well, because I don't. Finland's going to be fine in my estimation. I was in Finland during the Ukraine war. It's totally fine. Helsinki real estate isn't doing super fine because of it, but I think it's an amazing opportunity for some former Russian dude who's moving over there because there's a lot of that happening too. A lot of the ski resorts in Finland are Russian owned. I didn't get to go over to any of them, but there's only one casino in Finland right now, and I think that would be a good thing to own. So, you guys buy, want to do a deal with me where we buy a casino on a Russian ski resort in Finland, let me know. Those are the types of deals I'm interested in. Having a monopoly on a casino market in a place where drinking is really, really popular is as smart of an investing. Actually, that's smart. We're going to end the video there. That's the smartest advice I've ever given you. If you can find a market like Finland where it's cold, where there's a ski resort kind of town where drinking is a big part of the culture, and you can have a monopoly on casinos and betting, bro. Is this a market research channel? Oh. Oh, yeah, it is, baby. Oh, yeah. All right, guys. I hope that this was clear. I didn't move through this too quickly, but I'm not going to. I'm not going to do that, dude. I don't like rushing through my shit anymore. What am I, Russian? Fuck, dude, I'm such an unk. Is that unk? Is that unk? Is that what you guys fucking... That's probably what you guys call me behind my back. This guy's so fucking old. Any questions, guys? Comment below. I'll answer them, especially for a video like this. Okay? Love you guys. We'll pick this up again tomorrow. Peace.